All right, everybody. Well, hey, you are in for a treat here. Somebody who is just absolutely just beams amazing energy, who's just absolutely done an amazing job taking her podcast and absolutely launching it in the hemisphere, who's just absolutely giving. And I'm proud to call her a friend of mine. Anjel Hartwell is joining us here on International Podcast Day. What is going on? How are you doing? Staying out of trouble and having fun as always?
I am doing my best to have fun, Scott, and I just want to just give you a big virtual hug because I so miss being in person with people. I really do miss that, but I'm really glad that we have the technology to be able to connect this way. And thank you so much for doing this today for the podcast family.
Yeah, no, you know, that's the big thing. I think we all miss the in-person events, the hanging out. Thank God for Zoom, so we can get a little bit of that dopamine, a high five. As I was just talking with the previous guest about the podcast family out there, of being able to connect, and stay in touch, and share what all we've got going on. So let's talk a little about your podcast journey and how you got started. And it's such an interesting story. I don't want to take the thunder, so share with our audience kind of how you got into Wickedly Smart Women and previously Wickedly Smart Men as well for you.
Yeah, no, actually it was called Men on Purpose podcast.
That's right,
so no worries. My first exposure to podcasts, I mean, I had kind of heard about them, it was out in the atmosphere, but my first exposure to really understanding the whole podcast world was in 2017 when I went to the very first New Media Summit, which was hosted by Steve Olsher. And I had to listen to some podcasts before the summit. And so I did. And when I got done at that summit, it became clear to me that I needed to launch my own podcast. And so I did that and launched Men on Purpose podcast in January of 2018. And within 6 weeks, it was 194 on the charts. So that was pretty exciting. And, mostly as a result of the pod family. Right? All the podcasters supporting each other helped me to make that accomplishment. And so I spent a year or so podcasting with Men on Purpose. And then last fall, I launched the Wickedly Smart Women podcast. Because once you get on one podcast, once you get on the roll with the podcast and you figure out how it all works, you're like, oh, I have another podcast. I actually have a list now of potential podcasts. And so I launched Wickedly Smart Women in September of last year. And we hit number 75 in 4 days.
Wow.
So that was pretty exciting. Yeah. And then what ended up happening was I became clear that I had overextended myself, which I can do sometimes. So I had overextended myself with 2 podcasts. And it also became clear that the purpose of the Men on Purpose podcast, or at least my purpose for launching and producing and doing 163 interviews with the Men on Purpose podcast, my time with that show had come to an end. So at the New Media Summit in March of this year, which was the last live event that I was able to dance at, an idea popped into my head in the post-event mastermind where there was a group of other podcasters that maybe it was time to sell it. And so, so that happened. I sold my podcast in the spring of this year. And I have since, just put all the energy into Wickedly Smart Women. And as a result, we became a finalist for the podcast awards, which I will know tonight whether we won. So
congratulations. Now let's talk. And that's what, when you reached out, I was like, oh yes, I'm so excited to have you on here. Let's talk about that, because you started, the Men on Purpose podcast, and you grew it to something like that. How does one sell a podcast? How can you put a price on that? Because I think a lot of people out there, my asset manager friends and the real estate guys, we always said, start with the end in mind. If you can end up create a business and sell it off, how do you kind of value a podcast?
Yeah, well, that is a really great question. So, by the time I made the decision, first of all, you have to decide. First of all, step one is you have to get clear. Is this still serving my business? Is it still serving me? Is it still serving my business model? Am I still serving this properly? So that's the first step. then the second step is to really start to ask yourself, would this be of value to someone else? Because, in some cases, podcasts are heart projects for people, right? In other cases, podcasts are very much, specifically branded to sell a particular product or service, right? And then in the third case, like in my case, it was kind of a combination of both. It was a heart project, but it was also intended to grow the business and grow the brand. So I had to look at that and say, okay, is there value here to someone else in both the show itself, the Men on Purpose podcast, which, has its own value, but also the overarching brand, right? What is the value of the Men on Purpose brand? Which included things, additional URLs that I had, like the Men on Purpose movement, Men on Purpose media. I had started to build out some of the additional assets all, as part of this process. So that's the second step. Like, would this even have any value to someone else? You can't value it financially unless you can at least conceive that there might be a buyer somewhere. Right. And then the third step is to get clear on, what you need. Like, what do I need to feel whole out of this experience, right? So I have to take into account, well, what was the investment that I made, just the pure cost investment, not counting my time, right? The pure base cost investment of launching the show and perpetuating the show over 163 interviews, which includes editing, support and administrative support and all of those things. So, just pure basic cost. What did it cost to go from 0 to 97 countries, right? What did it cost to go from 0 to 163 episodes? And then you got to look at, your own investment. What's my time worth? What's my, if I am worth, let's just round number, like if I'm worth $1,000 an hour, right? If my business, in order to be profitable, requires that I receive for my time $1,000 an hour, right? Well, 163 hours at least, right? We can look at that, right? So there's lots of different factors that get involved here. And then, like, being in the present moment with your own business, well, is it worth it to me to go for a large amount of money that would take all of these things into consideration and spend, a significant amount of time with it sitting on the market, vetting potential candidates? Or is my time better spent in helping this to move along swiftly and in receiving something that's fair in exchange for the time, energy, money, and attention that I've put into it? And then the final thing is, what's that buyer possibly looking for? Mm-hmm. So some buyers already have a business model in place, and they may be looking for the credibility, the visibility, the stats, the
audience.
The audience, right? They may be looking just for that. They may be looking for alignment with their own purpose, right? Their own business. So there are a lot of factors that go into the process of selling a podcast, never mind all of the process of like actually transferring it over. Yeah.
Right. Good
so
stuff.
that's hopefully that was a good answer.
Well, it is. And there's a lot you have to figure in there. And I love what you said in there about, hey, acquiring other assets, looking to see what's available. Is the Men on Purpose Summit.com available, or these other things that can fall in, horizontal or vertical offers of some sort that can be of value to somebody out there. We all know URLs have value,
It's real estate. URLs are real estate. And I came from a real estate background, so I know real estate myself. When I see, when I get an idea, it's like, oh, I got to park that real estate. I got to go buy and park that real estate, right? Yeah. I'm going to put that in my real estate, my virtual portfolio.
There you go. Now let's talk about, Weekly Smart Women. What's been the biggest surprise since launching that podcast for you?
Well, going to 75 in 4 days, that was a shock. I was just not expecting that, particularly since the podcast space over the course of that first year that I was in it has matured.
Right.
You know, and more podcasts are coming online. So for that show to launch and literally within 4 days be at 75, that was big. That was big. I monetized that show before it ever launched. That was big. I love monetizing. So what did
you do? Let's talk at that point. What were some of the things you did before the podcast? You said you monetized beforehand. What were some?
So my monetization strategy right now is that generally speaking, a guest is the greatest potential client for me. And so that's what happened. I had somebody who, you know, as I was in pre-launch, I was interviewing guests, and a guest happened to come along through sort of like a tangential outside of my sphere of influence, but, you know, kind of tangentially came in through, and she became a client. So, you know, a high-end client. You know, when I say monetize, 5 figures, I had, you know, just like that, with, you know, before the show even launched. So I love monetizing. And then the third thing that's been really exciting for me with Wickedly Smart Women was we went to #1 internationally. So it's a #1 international podcast. And then we recently just got selected as a finalist in the People's Choice Awards, and we'll find out tonight. So
that's awesome.
It's been good. It's been fun.
That has been fun. And that's a big thing. For those out there looking, they're like, oh, how do I monetize? Do I need to do so many episodes? Do I get a sponsor? You're your best sponsor. If you're offering services or counseling or whatever it might be, a product like we offer products up with what we do in our educational stuff like that. Don't be afraid to pitch that, right? Don't be afraid. If you offer a service, you're actually really kind of, if it's going to benefit your listeners, I think you're doing a disservice by not offering, right, Anjel?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. I mean, if somebody, well, let's just use as an example, maybe like a fitness podcast, right? And if you know that what you have to offer can help somebody prevent themselves from having a heart attack, why wouldn't you offer that? You know, why wouldn't you offer that all day, every day in whatever space you're in, especially when you have a platform like a podcast? You know, that's the whole purpose in my mind of for anybody who's podcasting from a business oriented space. Now, there are people who literally are doing podcasting as like, it's like a fun hobby thing. It's a side thing. It's a, you know, creative expression thing. It's a heart project thing. And 90% of those I would imagine pod fade. Mm-hmm. They pod fade because, you know, it's just a thing that they throw out there. And then unless there's some kind of weird divine intervention that it massively blows up, which sometimes happens, if there's not a monetization strategy, then it can be really hard to maintain that momentum.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are you doing as far as planning things out? Are you doing a lot pre-recording before you launch? Are you batch recording? And you've got some amazing guests on there. How are you doing to attract your guests that you have on the podcast?
Well, let me take that in parts. As far as my recording process goes, I will be recording at 4 p.m. As soon as you and I are done, I'm going right into a recording. So I actually do 2 recordings every Wednesday, and I air 1 recording every Wednesday. So I always have a bank. And then in the summer, I am on hiatus. But the bank is being drawn down over the course of the summer. And then I do almost a month. It's not quite a month, but I do what I call my bonanza, where I empty out the bank in the month that the show is its anniversary, right? Yep. So when I was doing Men on Purpose, we had launched in January. So I did a bonanza from December 1st to January 11th, which allowed me to empty out the bank for the most part. With Wickedly Smart Women, our anniversary was in September. So we went from September 1st to September 18th, and we just did a show every single day. And
Nice.
now we're back on Wednesdays only. But what that does is it gives a little, like, a lot of celebration energy. You're the main guy who likes to play and celebrate and have fun, so you get that. A lot of celebration energy, a lot of more traction and boost in a short period of time. And then I just go back into my regular consistent schedule. And there's a reason for the doing the bonanza is it's the anniversary celebration. So in terms of attracting guests, so I've been in the online space since 2008. I have woven a massive web of connections and relationships. I have spoken myself long before podcasting came along on at least 1,000 what I'll call virtual stages, as well as live stages on telesummits, guest appearances to people's masterminds, all of those things. I had my own radio show in 2009 and 10. So I have a massive web of connections. It is not hard for me to find people to interview. In fact, I've got 100, I think 90 is the number right now, 90 people in queue who've applied to be a guest, who've gone all the way to the application process to be a guest. Plus my inbox is constantly being bombarded with publicists and PR people who are promoting their potential guests as well. Right. So I have no problem getting guests, and I totally recommend that people apply, because I'm always looking for the unusual. I'm always looking for the extraordinary. I'm always looking for the exceptional. So yeah, I have no problem getting guests. Yes, please, more please.
No, I love that, because you're banking, but if you need to bump somebody up sooner, they can, or in the process.
Well, yeah, let me talk about bump up sooner too. Yeah. So one of the things that I have in my business model that's part of the monetization strategy is if somebody applies and they want the velvet rope option, they can pay me to be put to the front of the queue. If they're a fit, then I will put them, I will do their interview within 3 weeks. And I will air their show when they want it aired, which is very helpful for people who are doing book launches or product launches or program launches. Mostly my show is evergreen, but the velvet rope option gives people that option. They can jump the line with the red velvet rope option and be at choice about when their show is airing. So yeah,
I love it. It's a really smart feature to have out there. It's why you're wickedly smart. What would you say, thinking back where you've done such an amazing job, is there anything that kind of like, anything you dislike or anything negative that's been like, about podcasting out there? Because we've all had peaks and valleys out there. Anything that kind of stands out to you when you think back about things you dislike about the podcast?
I will tell you, I love everything about podcasting. And what I became pretty clear on pretty quickly when I first launched the Men on Purpose podcast was there are things that I should not be doing, that I personally should not be doing. So I have a production schedule that is like a spreadsheet from A to ZZ or something, of all the little bits and pieces of things that happen behind the scenes to make a show great. I do column M, which is basically do the interview and the editing notes and upload it. And that's all I do. I have a team member who is my guest management production assistant, and she also handles all of the post-show airing social media stuff. And then I have a production editor, and his team takes care of all the editing and the show notes and all of those things. Now, it is an expense for me to have those people do that, but what it does is it allows me to be the talent. I would have gone into pod fade if I had tried to continue to figure all that stuff out and do it myself. It's not my highest and best gift. My highest and best gift is to, as Steve Olsher told me at that first New Media Summit, be the talent. I'm here to be the talent.
Good. That's such great counsel for everybody that's out there listening, trying to do it all. I mean, don't get me wrong. if you're on a budget, you're starting off things, I get that. It makes sense if you can, but the sooner you can figure a way out to delegate it or simplify things, you're a lot happier. Because I would have faded a long time ago if I had to do all my own podcast editing, right?
Totally.
Where do you see Weekly Smart Women going here in the next 12 to 24? What's the big plans for you here as we hopefully get back to normal next year a little bit?
Yeah, well, there's no going back to normal. Let's both be clear about that, Scott. Let's be exceptionally clear.
Right.
There is no going back to normal. There's only creating what our new normal will be. So, and that's our job as creators, to be here creating what we want in the world and looking at what doesn't work anymore and throwing it in the trash. So for me, Wickedly Smart Women, moving forward from here, my desire is to have it be at least at 97 countries a year from now, which seems fair to expect. We're at 49 now. I want to have Wickedly Smart Women community. We're building community now on Facebook. And I just built a store where we have t-shirts, which I'm not wearing my t-shirt today because I wore it yesterday and it's kind of smelly. But we have t-shirts and we have coffee mugs and we have mouse pads and we have masks. And right now my favorite t-shirt, mask, coffee mug, journal, whatever, like all the things, is Wickedly Smart Women Vote. So so I think this growing the store, growing the community in Facebook, and hitting 97 countries is good for the podcast right now.
Good stuff. What's a lesson that you've learned from one of your guests that stands out the most when you think about all the women you've had on there from Wickedly Smart Women that just was like, wow, this was an aha nugget that stuck with me?
Well, I can't say any one particular woman, but what I will say is that I feel like women giving themselves permission to take a stand and have a voice and be heard is the most important aspect of what we're doing at Wickedly Smart Women. And each and every one of these women has gone through their own gauntlet of tearing down internally all of the conditioning that they received to keep themselves repressed, depressed, and suppressed, and to keep their voices small and unheard. So every woman who's been on this show has done that work of dismantling, and we are still in a process of dismantling and allowing ourselves to stand in the spotlight and be heard and be seen and speak what our authentic truth is. So yeah, that's what I will say about that.
I love it, but that's the truth. It's such a truth, and more women, and I totally 100% agree, got to voice out, share what's going on, share your passion, get out and vote. We all know everybody's got to get out and vote, no matter what it is these days.
Smart women vote.
Exactly. What is, I was going to say, you've got the store, which you've launched, which is great. Yep. That's always exciting. It's always another way to monetize and simplify it there for you. And with the community aspect of things, are you seeing, as you've done more on that stuff, are you starting to see a lot more? And I love your bonanza. I think that's the nugget of the day of the bonanza stuff. But with other things, what's another thing you've seen that has really boosted your engagement, boost your downloads, and boost your popularity with the different marketing and other things that you're doing?
Well, I'm going to not talk about marketing. I'm going to talk about relationships, Scott, because, I think it's incumbent upon anyone who's stepping into the role of host who really wants to bring their message, their own message, as well as the messages of their guests out into the world, to really be focusing on the building of strong, powerful, mutually beneficial, just like this is between you and me, mutually beneficial relationships where, we can't always say yes. Right. I can't, like, this was a last minute thing. I was just like, I saw it. I was like, yes, I'm in. We can't always say yes. So knowing that we can't always say yes, but when we are able to say yes wholeheartedly to supporting and sharing other people's great work. And so it's been in the building and tending and nurturing of all of the relationships with all of the women that I've worked with over the years, that have been colleagues over the years, that are part of the podcasting family, they're like my new sisters in spirit. And to be really mindful about how valuable your social capital is, how incredibly valuable your integrity is, how incredibly valuable your authentic desire to actually know and connect with and support another human being is. And that is going to trump, all marketing, okay? All day, every day. Because when push comes to shove, it's less about the marketing tactics and more about the strategy of weaving a web of support, which is part of what I teach when I work with people in my Wealthy Life method. So yeah.
I love it. You're 100%. It's all about those relationships, because if you're going to have somebody on or be on somebody's show, it is a relationship, and it shouldn't be one way. It should be a two-way street that really helps promote everybody out there that's involved, because it's both time, energy, and a lot of work to get where we want to be at today. And I love that aspect of things what you just shared there, Anjel. What is the best way for people to connect with you, to find out more what you got going on, and to listen to the show for you, for those that are on?
Well, I am actually helping people start podcasts too as part of my monetization strategy. So they can go to startapodcastnow.com if they'd like and check out that offer, or they can go to Wickedly Smart Women podcast and tune in, download, rate, review. We love that. And of course, join the Wickedly Smart Women community on Facebook. And you can find me pretty much anywhere on the web under either my name, Anjel B Hartwell, or the Wealthy Life Mentor, which is my brand.
Love it. Anjel, thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you for having me. I love you, Scott. I can't wait to play in person.
I know,
when are we
right?
doing that? We need to have a dance party. Thank you so much for doing this.
I'm good.
Yeah, well, I'm in charge of the dancing.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's the thing.
I'm grateful for the platform today. Thank you so much for doing this.
And no problem. Thank you for sharing and playing full out and being a part of this. Is this your second time we've had you on IPD?
I don't know what. Yeah, it's. I've been on with you.
Yeah, a couple times.
I don't think it's been on IPD. I don't think I was on IPD last year. No.
Okay.
But I've been on with your other stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, hey,
but I'm happy to be on IPD anytime you want to do IPD or any podcasting thing.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you, definitely.
Thanks so much.
Be safe out there. Have fun. We'll see you later. All right.
You too. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
That's good stuff.